Right. Thank you for the introduction. Once again, my name is Lazar Stricevic. It is a little bit difficult to pronounce for different language speakers. Anyway, I come from the University of Novi Sad, and I'm going to say something about link aggregation and this implementation on Linux. Is it possible at all? And we'll see perhaps how it can be done. This is a short outline of the presentation. First, I'm going to say something about link aggregation, then something about existing implementation on certain operating systems. Then I'll say something about my go on link aggregation implementation on the MINIX tree, and after that we'll see how it works. Here's the definition. But link aggregation is basically when you don't want to change networking technology, but you want more performance of your networking infrastructure. There are different names for aggregation. Some of you might have heard about it, like under the name of bonding, trunking, bundling, teaming, or whatever. Quick question. How many of you from the audience have had any experience with link aggregation? And how many of you used it? So, 2. Okay. Well, then I better explain what it is. Why would we do link aggregation is to improve the performance and improving throughput and availability of networking link. Availability is improved through fault tolerance. What happens if one of the links break? Then we just switch to the other one. And well, we could use the links for better, for more speed, for more bandwidth. Typical setup of link aggregation would be between two computers, between networking devices, and between computer and networking device, like switch. There are link aggregation can be implemented in many different levels. For example, I was involved in implementation on core middleware, but it's usually done on data link layer, which is right above at the driver level in the operating system. So it's usually offered as a service of the operating system. What do we mean when we say link aggregation? First of all, we need to get the frames across the link, and there are several different algorithms of how to do that. And we need to also monitor the state of the links. If one of the links breaks, so we don't use it anymore. There are many ways of forwarding frames across the aggregated link, but most popular ones are the one listed on the slide. One I first mentioned is that we usually use one of the links, and then but not the others. And when the active link breaks, then we switch to backup. One of the backup links. The other ones are, for example, round-robin style forwarding, which uses all the links, send one in round-robin style, send first frame on one link, second on second link, and so on and so on, round and round. However, today, mostly is used sort of load balancing, several load balancing nodes which use hardware and IP address, TCP or UDP port number, to choose which link the frame would go to, which assures that all of the links are the same. For example, TCP connection would go over the same link, and we would avoid problems like out-of-order delivery and such. And there is a IEEE standard 802.3 AD, which is the old name. The new name is 802.1x something, which uses its own control protocol, so that we detect failed links and to monitor the state of the aggregated link. Well, there are several ways of monitoring aggregated link, which I mentioned one of them before, right on the previous slide. This is the aggregation protocol. However, this requires implementation. And this way of aggregation is called dynamic aggregation. However, usually it's monitored by the state, link is monitored by monitoring the state of the MII registers. MII stands for Media Independent Interface. So it monitors the carrier state of the link. Is there voltage on the cable or not? However, there are also way of monitoring called ARP monitoring, which just sends some ARP protocol requests, frames to certain IP targets, saying, is there IP, which is a physical address for this IP, and if it exists, then link works, presumably. Now, how it is implemented in traditional way, or traditional, most current operating systems. Usually there is something called virtual aggregation interface, and it usually sits on top of the drivers of physical Ethernet or other type of networking card. Most famous implementation is on Linux, which is the oldest one as far as I know. Sometimes in the 90s, I believe it was by Don Becker for viewable clusters. And then came the others, implementations on BSD, and from 2004, I think it's even implemented in Mac OS. Windows, however, Home and Professional Edition still don't have any implementation of it. So some of the manufacturers of networking hardware needed to find a way around it. So they implement drivers which can aggregate some of their products. Which led that server version from 2012 implemented link aggregation, but only on Windows Server product line. So why would anyone do link aggregation on MINIX3? Well, MINIX3.org website says that one of the main and link aggregation strives to increase availability of the link. Well, now, reliability and availability are not exactly the same thing, but it leads to more reliable, available MINIX3. I believe the correct term would be dependable operating system. And for me, also, the reason which is perhaps more important than this is that it is part of my PhD research. Yeah. what would be requirements for implementation of Linux or link aggregation on Linux? First, I would implement a simplest failover mode or active backup mode, just to see if it can be done. Presumably, it should have low impact on performance if you use link aggregation to lower your performance. Then it's not a good thing, right? I'm a lazy person, so I wanted to make a minimum change, a small change as possible. So where to put it? This is how I understand Minix networking subsystem. User programs usually talk to VFS service, and which talks to iNet, which sends frames to networking driver, which then communicates to the actual network card. So I thought something like this would be in Minix style. Why? Because it can be implemented within networking driver, like for example Intel did for Windows, or it can be implemented so that a virtual interface is added in networking server. But all of these solutions would not be as modular as Minix tries to be. So I decided to add another module which would act as the virtual interface. So how should I insert this? Well, I made a server driver, and I made it subscribe to DS for networking drivers. So it would detect all other networking drivers which there are, and we react by detecting the driver up to the end and record its endpoint. Then register to DS as regular network driver. Why? So that iNet would detect it as a networking driver and communicate with it instead of other drivers. Which is basically a hack. It's not supposed to work like that, but I don't know, it worked. In a similar fashion, I had to recreate IPC communication in a way that iNet would think that it's talking to the driver, and the driver would think that it's talking to actual networking server. So basically, iNet communicates with the driver, so it sends the IPC message with asynchronous manner, and the driver replies with IPC with synchronous send message. So I do that the same way. The reason for that are in papers from 2009. You already heard that, I think. The usual way to communicate, to send a frame for a driver, or to take it from the driver, is to send him a grant for piece of memory which is inside the init driver, inside the memory space of the init driver. For that, the driver needs grant, because in Minix there is no shared memory, at least not that I know of. And then a driver copies the frame either to a driver or from. So I needed to get around that. It can be done by copying, by adding another copy level. So the frame will be copied to aggregation driver, then from aggregation driver. Or there are things called indirect grants, which allow aggregation driver to delegate a piece of memory it gets from INET server, which saves us one copy. So how do I do link monitoring? Well, at the moment, MINIX drivers can't report any MII registers or MII status, so no MII monitoring. So I had to switch to option number 2, which is ARP. I basically made a service send ARP request frame and then wait for reply. And it does so only if there are no frames received in a certain interval. So it waits for it sends ARP request frame and waits for another interval. If nothing comes back, then the link is dead, and it's time to switch. Basically, I didn't change any of the existing components. I changed only the configuration files. lmprox is current name for aggregation service. So I added it as a first, as iterate 0 basically, and then I configured it as any other interface. For now, I gave it all the rights it needs. Perhaps it's a bit more than it needs, but it's still in testing phase. And of course, there's a configuration file for aggregation driver itself, which says something about which network driver it is going to use, which mode and interval will do. Of course, the out target for state of the link detection. So, how well does it work? I'm looking at the clock. I hope I'm not almost at the limit, which I usually do. I made a simple setup of 2 computers and connected it with Ethernet links, and do several types of tests. I did some TCP throughput test with iPerf, and I made a special little service which would directly insert frames into the driver, so I would see difference, how much degradation is introduced with my little aggregation driver. I tested it with MINIX3 plus aggregation driver. Then and I tested it on 2 types of network, 100 megabit and gigabit network. And we'll just say why I used these sort of hardware. Well, these were the only computers I found that would actually run MINIX on bare metal. And here are the results. On 100 megabit, basically, and I used Linux for the reference, because Linux drivers are mostly very polished and very quick. So on 100 megabit, everything works really well. In fact, Minix doesn't lag behind Linux at all. The only thing that's a bit lagging behind is Minix plus aggregation driver, which uses copy in between. So which add a second copy level, which is understandable, right? Well, gigabit situation is a little bit different, right? Linux, pushes it up to the limit of the PCI bus, while Minix lags behind, which is not too bad, I would say. But again, then here we see more clearly that aggregation is added another level of difficulty for the processor to catch up with the network. Okay, these are the raw broadcast text. Directly sending frames to the driver. With aggregation, no aggregation, and inputting. So we see that there is no difference in speed. However, on gigabit, this is strange. I hope that many guys will help me explain this. That I got better results with aggregation driver than without. I suppose some timing issue. But to see the error bars are really wild here, so might be one as well. Anyway, I'm close. I should wrap it up because time is almost up. I think I've proven that Minix can do link aggregation, yeah? And it works really well for slower links. But networking stack could be improved, as David said in his first presentation. And I'm really glad to hear that it will be so really soon. What am I going to do now? Finish this, add some more aggregation note, if there is interest from the Minix community. If not, then please. And perhaps, if there is interest, VLAN implementation can be done in similar fashion. Another service for that. All right, that concludes my presentation. To ask questions.
So a question and comment. So when you say Minix does the aggregation very well for the lower speed links, did you also look at the CPU utilization?
Yes, but that was not of importance for this. I mean, CPU was utilized to the maximum for the quickest things.
For Minix, but not for Linux.
Not for Linux.
So the other thing the comment is that maybe you should also have a look at the work by Thomas Ruling.
Yes,
on faster network links. So there you can actually go to 10 gigs and speeds like that. And also he's recently done for the higher protocol layers, so not at the data link layer, a duplicate network stack. So you also have the additional reliability. So maybe interesting.
Yes, I read his paper. In fact, I was in contact with him for, I don't know, Minix Summer of Code 2 years ago, I think, when Minix was rejected, and then I didn't do that for Google Summer of Code. But I'm in touch with him, and as I realize I'm sorry he's not here to see this, but hopefully you can see the video.
Is your factory?
Yes. Thank you. More questions?